Shares of Boeing fell 7% in midday trading Monday, though were down more earlier, following the temporary grounding of some of the company's best-selling 737 MAX jets by the U.S. Aviation Regulator. This came after an accident Friday, where a cabin panel ripped off an Alaska Airlines jet while in midair shortly after takeoff, forcing pilots to return to the airport in Portland, Oregon, where the flight originated. The plane, with 171 passengers and 6 crew on board, landed safely. Shares of the airline fell in morning trading but were near break-even by midday, while those of Spirit AeroSystems, which makes the plane part in question, were 8% lower at lunchtime, which was better than their performance at the opening bell. The 60-pound part of the fuselage that came off covers an optional exit door. It was recovered on Sunday by a Portland school teacher who found it in his backyard, U.S. National Transportation Safety Board Chair Jennifer Homendy said. The piece will be thoroughly inspected, she said, though investigators won't have the recording of the communication of pilots from the cockpit voice recorder, or CVR, to review. Currently, regulations only require that device to record the last 2 hours of communication, and it was too late when it was recovered, renewing attention on an industry call for longer in-flight recordings.
There was a lot going on the flight deck and on the plane. It's a very chaotic event. The circuit breaker for the CVR was not pulled. The maintenance team went out to get it, but it was right at about the 2-hour mark, and it was completely overwritten. At 2 hours, it re-records over it, so we have nothing from the CVR.
This incident is just the latest in a series of problems Boeing has had with its MAX jets. Crashes in 2018 and 2019 killed nearly 350 people and led to the MAX's worldwide grounding for 20 months. In this instance, Boeing confirmed Monday it had already taken steps to get the grounded planes back in the air. It has shared instructions with airlines about inspecting the grounded fleet, which is a key requirement of regulators before the planes can resume service.
Menemukan salah satu dari 2 black box yang terpasang.
Yeah, so Boeing stock is down significantly today, driven by the fact that a panel from a 737 MAX 9 blew out unexpectedly mid-flight. So that just obviously has both consumers and investors scared and worried about the future of the company. Boeing shares will probably struggle here for a little bit, as like you said, investors are worried. There's just an emotional reaction even to owning a stock with negative sentiment like this. So we do think it's going to be choppy. There'll be more volatility for the stock, but as they do investigations and we really understand what went wrong here, we think, like I said, this will be a one-time event, which ultimately will help just the stock rebound, as we learned that this really isn't a Boeing mass issue. This is quite a bit different than the two crashes that we had with the earlier 737 Maxes, because those were a technological software issue. This is just a mechanical issue within the fuselage. And like I said, from all evidence so far, this is a one-time event. So I think these are quite a bit different. Obviously, the fact this wasn't deadly either helps with that cause, but we see this as just a mechanical breakdown of a part within that fuselage, and not a mass issue across the 737 MAX 9s. Due to the fact that we see this as just a one-time event, and a lot of the dip in the stock is just on fear, that's usually the best time to get into a stock, because it has become oversold. So we see this as a short-term drop in the stock and a buying opportunity as we begin to get more information that will help the stock rebound. Right now, Boeing is going to be in a little bit of a damage control situation. They'll obviously make press releases and they'll try to articulate the fact that this was just a one-time event and what they will do going forward to help keep this from happening again. But once again, this will happen. These are not perfect machines. Things can go wrong. So I think as long as they take responsibility and try to look forward what they're going to do next, I think that would just overall just kind of help the sentiment around the stock. I think you do have to look at the suppliers. Like I said, I mentioned Spare Aerosystems. They're the ones that provide the fuselage that had the breakdown here. So as you go further down the chain, that will affect, and you probably will see some turnover in the suppliers for Boeing. That's probably where you're going to see the biggest hit, where Boeing is forced to move away from a specific supplier because they're the one that ultimately takes that blame. Anytime you're flying in the air, I can imagine that brings a lot of emotion. So even from people that are on the ground, it makes them more worrisome about their air travel. So that will have an effect short term on just the entire airline industry, without a doubt. But as an investor, I see this as just a short-term issue, which ultimately will lead to the stock rebounding as they kind of figure this out and find solutions to make sure it doesn't happen again.